Wonderful, thank you. Great. Okay. We can get started. I want to welcome everybody to the October 15th, 2024 zoning board of appeals meeting. We have rather small agenda. We have the public hearing and the review of William Lawyer's application from last month. And then we have our meeting minutes to go over as well. So, do we know if we have any Zoom participants?
We don't really do that anymore.
Right, but usually I like to know if people are listening in. If,
No, it doesn't seem to be.
okay.
Yep.
That being said, I'm going to forego the open meeting aspect. Again, we'll address the application that you're here for as well, and there'll be a public hearing involved with that. But since you would be the only participants, not having any Zoom possibilities, so I guess what we can do is to get started again. If you want to just give us a refresher as to what you're looking to have us do for you.
It was to be setbacks so that he could put up the addition.
Right.
I didn't bring any paperwork with me.
Yeah, I know Chris did more of the talking last time.
Right,
but,
I figured Chris would be here.
He is coming with.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a 30 by 48 extension on an existing barn. Okay. And I think when we looked at it, there was an agreement to move it, I guess, let me see, to the east.
Yes.
Yeah. So that it would allow for the 20 feet on the west side.
Right, instead
Okay.
of being in the center, it was on the end of the barn.
Correct. Okay. So. Yeah. And again, that was kind of what. You came up with, so it's come this way. Yeah. And gentlemen, you were here last meeting, right? So you understand what. we
No, it's
agreed
very
upon.
clear to me.
Okay.
Nothing else, I will move to reopen the public hearing.
Thank you. Beat me to it.
Second.
Matt seconded.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chairman Ladd.
Aye.
Board Member Gangster,
Aye.
Board Member Boggs,
Aye.
Board Member Leone,
Aye.
and Chairman Gage.
Aye. So it doesn't appear that there is anybody here to provide any public hearing comments.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'm saying,
Board Member Leone,
Aye.
Board Member Ladd.
Aye.
Board Member Gangster,
Aye.
Board Member Boggs,
Aye.
Chairman Gage.
Aye.
this is a one-story addition, a two-story.
Okay, so.
I think that's it.
That being said, I'm going to run through the findings The first being, whether an undesirable, change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. No. No. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. No. Whether the requested variance is substantial.
No.
Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood?
No.
Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created.
Yeah.
I mean,
Even less so than normal, because the existing structure isn't moving, so.
correct. But kind of based on the
Yeah.
dimensions.
Right.
So, but other than that, it's. Okay, so the last thing we would need is a motion regarding the variance application.
Sure. I will make a motion to grant William Leonard of 14165 Williamsburg Road, SBL number 80.00-1-9.21. A side yard variance of 20 feet to construct a 30 by 48-foot single-story addition to the existing garage per the findings of 8.62, provided a building permit be obtained within 6 months and all other aspects of the ordinance be followed.
Second.
Board Member Gangster,
Aye.
Board Member Boggs,
Aye.
Board Member Leoni,
Aye.
Board Member Vice Chairman Lack.
Aye.
And Chairman Gage.
Aye. The only thing, and that's a west side variance, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You're all set? You'll see Chris about a building permit.
Yes.
Okay.
How long are they good for? If this doesn't get completed during the winter,
I think once it's been issued,
You have 6 months to
To
get it.
obtain it,
Or-
yeah.
And it's a year,
oh, that's what I mean.
a year from the start
You
to
don't know how the
finish.
weather's going
And
to
if something happens, then they sometimes do a second permit for the completion of it, but it's a percentage of what's not done. Or what was done.
Right, but the variance is good for regardless of the
Right,
length of the construction.
right.
That's all right. Again, if something were to arise that would delay completion, then just reach out to Chris and
Okay.
you could work with him on it. It shouldn't be a problem.
So we're good?
You are.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah, also in the discussion, without the building permit, we provided some guidance as to what he could be doing, you know. Short of actually doing the construction, but and there was work that could be done. Dan?
Yeah.
In the minutes, again, during the discussion about the setbacks for the accessory buildings, are you comfortable with how that's conveyed in the minutes?
I'm reading it now. I would just add that, that I would support dropping the size for a building permit. If that's the issue, to something like a 10 by 10 building,
Uh,
but small sheds, I don't really think should be. I
well,
don't think there should be restrictions on where you can put a small shed on your property.
okay,
That's my opinion.
all right. But is that concern because you don't think it can be adequately enforced, or you just don't feel it should be restricted?
So both,
Okay,
right? Both. And there's also the issue of how, you know, how, to what extent are there existing properties? I don't understand they would be grandfathered,
yes,
but you know, grandfathering is an imperfect solution. If there's no problem to start with, especially because then you've got one person who, well, his shed is over there, why can't I put mine? Well, he built it back before, you know, and then that's, it's one thing if you're talking about houses and commercial buildings and things like that. When you're getting to the level of sheds, starting to get petty, especially between neighbors and grandfathering it, that just doesn't seem. It seems like an unnecessary potential problem. I just don't think the sheds require that level of regulation.
okay.
And there is the issue of children's playhouses and tree houses and. So I can understand a larger building, it's 12 by 12 now, correct?
Right. And we
Then-
basically went from
Yeah.
60 to 140 square feet. That was
Yeah,
what we addressed.
right. So I can see from the 100 square feet to. Was it 144, maybe, the larger buildings, I can understand, but if, in that case, I would say, then they should. Require a building permit, if you're gonna make those kind of regulations, you need to make the regulations. That's how I feel about it.
Okay. So is there any editing you would want to do again? And I was thinking about you with the statement because, you know, you're not comfortable with it, that if you're feeling that, you don't think it would be necessary, or you just don't think that it, you know, have to be dealt with, kind of thing. As long as you're comfortable with the statement as it is, then.
I would just say I would, and suggest there may be. Alternatives. Because. I feel like if you need, if there is a need. To regulate these things. At some level. Then it's no different from any other building. It should require a building permit.
Okay, so.
Wouldn't require the building permit involve some guidelines or some regulation as far as how the structure is to be built? Like, is there's supposed to be a footing? There,
Sure, I mean, my point is that the whole thing is excessive. We're talking about sheds. Now, if the larger sheds are an issue, then I would say. Drop the square footage. If a 12 by 12 building is too big, then drop it to 10 by 10.
Or perhaps whatever we come up with that we submit to the town board. Require a building permit to do, that way there's something to grant a variance to if it comes back before us.
Well, yes, but to me, I would rather avoid that.
Well,
Also, because the sheds are so more easily, placed than like a house or something of a larger construction.
They're usually not permanent either.
No. Well, Chris, we were just discussing, in the minutes, kind of some of the wording that was, in reference to accessory building, guide,
Yeah.
which we had done. And, I asked Jonathan or, Daniel about, is he comfortable with the statement that he had made about that, that there should not be any regulation at all. Now, he just posed, if we were to, could we change that 144 square feet to, smaller structures and have them require building permits?
Yeah, you can change to whatever you want.
Okay,
Some towns do 100, some towns have 80, some have 144. Yeah, I mean, 144 is just New York State.
right, exactly, and I'd seen
That's
that,
why we adopted what New York State does.
right,
And Nelson, I'm not suggesting we need to, but I'm suggesting if there is a strong feeling that there is a need, then that would be, I would sooner see that happen than regulations that cover just about any shed that somebody wants to put in the corner of their lawn, to store their lawnmower or something.
well, and my thinking on that was that right now, there's nothing in the ordinance that would resolve the issue that originally, came about. Such that we would have the means of saying, okay, a neighbor has expressed a concern,
Yeah,
the regulations are such and such. And then they would have to be compelled to move them. The problem was, there was nothing in the ordinance that said that where that gentleman placed his shed, even though much to the chagrin of his neighbor, he had every legal right to do that.
yeah.
well, not to put words in Dan's mouth here, but I don't think you have a problem with that answer.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Every individual has legal free right of enjoyment of their property.
Yeah, that is true, but,
Has this been an issue? More than just this one occurrence that we're doing, because that's where I'm a little confused. Why over one occurrence? I've been here almost 2 years, we've had one issue.
right,
I don't think we need to rewrite the ordinance for one issue. That's just my opinion. I'll be honest with you, I have a really hard time if you get too crazy with this. Well, it's gonna be hard to enforce. It's gonna be
Well,
very hard to enforce.
well, it's gonna depend on somebody bringing a complaint or a concern.
Right.
Normally, and again, this is in R2, what's the minimum lot size, 2.2 acres.
2.2.
That's plenty, to have and place a shed where a neighbor, would not take exception to it or have an
Right.
objection. The problem with the particular lots that we're talking about, those are undersized lots. And it just so happened that placing that shed did kind of create, you know, a feeling that it was too close to the property line. And again, what we, you know, for those sheds from 60 to 140, that's why we came up with 10 feet.
Yeah,
We feel that's more adequate. And that's in R2. In the hamlets where the, you know, lot size or the 1 acre, we went with 5 feet. And again, it's probably should be anyway, so that you're not coming up with a scenario that you inadvertently placed, you know, a shed on what you thought was, you know, adequate buffer with the property line, so you actually placed it on the property.
yeah,
So,
and I think that's why the fire code is 3 feet, right? There's a reason that the fire code is what it is too,
right,
you know? If it was 10 feet, that shed wouldn't have been able to go there, because it would have been on the sidewalk. So, the existing undersized lots, there's a lot,
well, they're not as, obviously in the Lake District, and we confront that all the time. The R2 has been less of an issue. You know,
yeah, it's been one issue, right?
well,
You
yes,
know, so. But there's a lot of undersized lots in R2. I was looking at the map the other day, there's a lot of small lots,
yeah.
you know,
But if I recall, the neighbor had reached out to the building department, asked if it was okay to place it where he did.
Yep.
And to be honest, there was nothing to prohibit him from doing so.
right,
I guess in the future, if somebody, you know, were to do something like that without even having any input from his neighbor, you know, at least would be able to, well, they should reach out to the neighbor in the first place, maybe find out if it's gonna be a problem. And then adhere to at least what we're recommending. So. Again, now these have been submitted to Teresa, you know, and I haven't heard back from her, so I don't know if she's looked into it and determined what the legalese aspect of it would be.
right,
I mean, I know other municipalities do have setbacks for the structures that do not require building permits.
yeah. I'd be curious to know if there's any rural, like. Schoharie, let's say, because they have setbacks, you know what I mean? Like, of course, Rotterdam and Glenville and those, I mean, where the houses are right on top of each other, that makes sense. But I'd be curious to see like what towns like, you know, Fonda or Glen or Schoharie or Cobleskill, even Esperance, if they have anything, you know?
Yeah,
So it's just less, it's less of an issue, I believe, I feel like it out here than it is.
right, and the occurrence, like you were saying, it's like few and far between.
Yeah,
Well, it all depends on a neighbor not liking what you're doing. And that's usually should be worked out between neighbors.
Yes,
I mean,
but at least we would be, we are gonna be providing at least some guidance. Say, should it come up, and obviously you're gonna be the first to hear of it.
yeah,
And then you could say, well, we do have some guidance in that regard. I mean, 10 feet. That particular shed that was too close to the property line could have been moved over 10 feet, right?
it would have been on the sidewalk, so no, technically, probably not, I mean, I'd have to go back and look. I
Right.
just don't think there wasn't a lot of it.
No.
Because they poured the sidewalk,
Yeah,
but. Yeah, I mean, was there other spots on the property? Maybe, you know, I didn't walk the property or anything, so.
again.
Because at the time, he wasn't doing anything wrong, so there was really no reason for me to investigate anything. You know?
Right.
You know,
And was that gonna be worked out amongst the neighbors? My impression was.
It,
They didn't like each other, and they weren't going to work it out between each other.
it was on the right path, I believe, to being worked out, and then it kind of hit the rails, or went
Yeah.
off the rails a little bit, I should say. So,
And again, what initially happened was that there was a request that we do an interpretation, which we did,
Mhm.
and then obviously came up with the fact that there isn't anything that really provides guidance
Right.
specifically for that,
Right.
so. Anyway, so we'll just leave it as it is then.
All right.
And again, we don't know what Teresa's input would be, and we'll just take it from there.
Yeah, that's fine, yes.
Okay, all right. Other than that, is there anything else in the meeting minutes that's in need of correction? So the meeting minutes, are they verbatim from the Zoom recording, or how is that done?
I didn't do them, so I don't know,
Jen did them.
Jen,
Oh, okay, yeah,
so,
okay. A true and accurate transcript of the zoning board meeting, so I guess
mhm,
it's probably as verbatim as
mhm.
it could be without, you know.
Typing every single word.
Yeah, or just, I don't know.
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Second motion,
Board Member Boggs,
Aye.
Board Member Leoni,
I,
Board Member Gainsler,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Lack,
Abstain.
and Chairman Gage.
Aye.
Oh, that's right, you played hooky last meeting.
Haven't done anything, or possibly the North Atlantic.
You were on the water. All right, if there's anything else, somebody can make a motion that we go home.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
second motion,
So. Board Member Gainsler,
Aye.
Board Member Leoni,
I,
Board Member Boggs,
Aye.
Chairman, Vice Chairman Lack,
Aye.
Chairman Gage.
Aye. Yeah, short and sweet.
I agree with you.
I know you do.
Back in the office.
I think let me get on